Hi, welcome to our second segment of Cambridge Inside Out. I'm Judy Nathans.
And I'm Robert Winters.
Yes, that was very lively, last segment.
Yeah, we just had Manny Lasardi
Yeah.
and talk about immigration. It was wonderful.
Yes.
But there's a lot of other things going on around town.
Yeah, because we weren't here last week,
Right?
but there had been a city council meeting and then a Green Cambridge Forum and then...
Yeah, that's a lot. We're in the thick of election season.
Yes.
I think election day is now, about 5 weeks
gosh,
away?
it will be
Exactly.
5 weeks from today.
From today, yeah.
Or is it a month? No, 5 weeks.
5
November
weeks, yeah.
7th or
So,
something, yeah.
things are in we've already been to a few city council candidate forums.
Right, I've only
various
been
ones.
to two. You went to the Ward 6, which,
Yeah, it was-
by
I
the way,
think-
they're all eventually going to be, some of them on CCTV.
Yeah, actually, I think CCTV
Ward
is
6
actually
forum is on.
live streaming some, and then they
Right,
become
and then
available.
eventually they're going to be, yeah.
Yeah, and I think I've already got some links on to
Oh,
these
good.
ones here. I'm actually going to put on the individual candidate pages links to their individual videos. I just haven't had a chance
Oh,
to do it.
got
I
it.
do that every year, but I just
Well, because you have
I mean-
like work and job and
yeah.
teaching.
Well, it's been
Plus this,
it's been
yeah.
a crazy week
Yeah.
actually. But 5 weeks. Let me just say one thing, at least in
Yeah.
my experience,
Yeah.
is that when it comes to the political stuff, is that there are a lot of people sort of looking, and some people already have decided who their favorite candidates are.
There's still
But-
many forums to go.
Right, but the thing is whether people get it from forums or they go to candidate pages or they,
Yeah.
or just things get ramped up.
Yeah,
The truth is that between now and the weekend before election day, there's actually a lot of time for a lot of people when people really are going to be finding out. And I
Right.
think I've probably said on this program before, since I can look at the statistics of who's going to which candidate pages, I can tell you who people are looking at actually.
Oh,
I'm not
I didn't
gonna,
know that.
but-
Or you'll tell me later.
No, I can tell you who
Yeah.
who people.
Oh, because you have all the hits.
Yeah, I can tell
You
you
keep
this,
track
and
of
so I can see who's at least attracting interest, which does not necessarily mean that
Anything.
they're going to get
Right.
votes. Because honestly, if somebody just did some atrocity or something, everybody would go to the page, right? But the thing is you do get an indication of who's interesting to a lot of people this way.
Yeah.
And my experience has been that the number of hits on candidate pages, it rises steadily toward election day, but then right when you get like in the week before, actually
Yeah.
really the weekend before election day.
Well, that's true in most elections.
Yeah,
Right
I mean
before.
the interest level just
Yeah.
suddenly takes off like
Right,
a
'cause,
rocket ship.
hey, time's running out. I got to
Right.
do it now. I have time. Yeah.
So in some respects, there, it's sort of like in a basketball game. We're still sort of in the
Yeah.
maybe into the second quarter here.
Well,
And-
my concern always is, people all of a sudden discovering that it's PR kind of election, right? Choice voting,
Actually,
and
I was
not,
invited to host a forum on PR at the library, but I got to just work out a date on this.
Oh,
now.
was this now official? Because I know you said this a long
I heard
time
about
ago.
an hour. Well, this was
Oh.
I was supposed I was asked to do that by some political candidates.
Okay.
But now the Cambridge Public Library is
Is
asking
that
if I
part of
want
their
to do
democracy in
it.
action
Might be,
thing?
yeah. I mean, I'd love to do it.
think that's even tonight
the
or
first date
next
they
week,
floated
yeah.
was a Thursday, and I teach Thursday, so
Right.
hopefully we can work that out. Because
Oh.
honestly, I'd love to talk about PR
Yeah.
and a bit of the the history and why we do things the way we do.
I think on candidates on their own websites, I know I just happened to look at Mark's and I didn't click on it, but there was something on PR elections. So I think each of them has a piece on that.
Yeah, I mean, they really should do that just to remind their
Right. I
voters.
think Jan does.
Honestly,
yeah.
Some candidates go in on #1 votes, but other candidates are dependent on transfers. So
Right.
if somebody's going to your web page or a candidate page, and you're not necessarily going to give that candidate your #1
Right.
vote, but if a candidate gets defeated, those votes may still end up with
Right.
that candidate anyway.
Right.
So
Right.
it is definitely in the best interest of any potentially successful candidate to actually explain this to people.
Right.
I mean, I remember some rather notable exceptions, people where they didn't explain anything at all, and then, when a person loses the election, then the ballots just go into the exhausted pile because they were just voting one vote for one candidate, and
Yeah.
that's not the way it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
Really. So anyway, so that's some election things, and I think coming up, I think we have at least one interesting candidate forum happening really soon. What is it?
It's not, well, there's one
Next
this
week.
Saturday, but I don't
Well,
know.
there's actually one that's supposed to be Saturday, but they canceled.
Oh, is that
The
the?
NAACP.
It is
So they-
canceled?
apparently it duplicated some other effort, so I got the message saying
Okay,
take
there's
it off the
something,
calendar.
Margaret Fuller, I don't think I can.
And that's happening. I think that may be early next week. I'm not sure, but we'll worry about it another time. The October 11th, which is Wednesday next, is the Mid-Cambridge one, which is at CRLS, 7 to 9 p.m. Actually, I'm always pitching that because
Oh,
it's
wait a
actually
minute,
my favorite one.
wait a minute, it's not gonna be at the place they always have it?
They've
On
always done it
SF,
at
1005 or
Cambridge
whatever.
College.
It's not gonna be there.
I've heard they were actually doing it up at CRLS in the cafeteria area, but
All
we'll
right,
see.
is it on your calendar?
It is. It's listed there, and that's the latest available information.
Okay, why don't we just show that for a minute, because that's actually got all of your forms
Alrighty,
on
let's
here.
see. How do we do this here?
Just sweep
Haven't
it
done it
again.
in a while, right?
There we go, yay!
Yeah.
Okay, so today is the 3rd,
Yeah. So
Okay,
there's some
so-
individual candidate events happening
so
this
this
week.
one is canceled, or
The
you have, that was scheduled?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
thank you
no
for that.
longer. And then
Now, next Tuesday, when we do our show, there's also a double duty thing here.
right. Well, it's actually there's the Cambridge Concerned Clergy Candidates Forum.
Yeah.
Right. At the AME Church. That might be the one that was in conflict with the NAACP.
I was gonna say, maybe they wanna combine that, yeah.
So that's there, and I
But
think
that's also now gonna be in conflict
well, it is.
with the roundtable, which is now
Right.
gonna be at City Hall.
So my
I
guess
heard.
is what they'll
Yeah.
do is they may actually begin by doing some of the challengers, and then as the roundtable wraps up, then people will kind of come over. It's
So
right.
it's at Bishop Allen,
it's pretty
okay.
nearby.
Because they
Yeah.
did move the school to, he
Yeah.
said that last night, to
Yeah.
City Hall, right?
Yeah. Truth
And
is
then, and then the candidates' night is at
Yeah.
CRLS,
I mean,
okay.
I do my best to try and help out to make sure there's
Well, you
no
are, these are
conflicts.
very up to date,
But
which is
it's-
nice.
The Porter Square Neighbors Association forum is in conflict with the school
Yes, I
committee
see
forum.
that, yes, at the high
Which is
school.
not a conflict for candidates, because you're not running for both, but
But
it
it's
might be a
for
conflict
people like me that would be
people who wanna
interested in
actually
both.
go to both,
Right.
so.
But they are being televised, stream live, and
Yeah,
also then
yeah,
eventually
so
on the channel, so.
CCTV has been a tremendous help here
And I think
this
the
year.
last one is the 24th, right? Because I know last year, 2 years, the CEOC,
Yeah.
Senior
yeah.
Center, okay,
Actually, it's one of the things,
What?
just because I obsess on elections, right?
yes.
I was at the election commission meeting last week, and there had been some concern that because of the large number of candidates, they may have to limit number of choices.
Right,
And I had it verified. In fact,
it's gonna be okay,
26
right?
candidates, you could vote for all 26 if you wanted to, but don't give any two candidates the same ranking, right?
Right,
Relatively few people
Right.
vote that deep.
right,
Typically, voters will vote 3, 4, 5, 6, up to maybe 9. But you could vote for all 26 if you wanted
Right.
to, and there's no restrictions.
right, okay.
So they managed to squeeze it onto the ballot, so good for
Hmm.
them. Another thing is, I believe this Friday, I hope I got that right, the pursuant to a city council order for a election guide of some sort, they're actually sending it out this year, I think this Friday. It gets at the printer and it's scheduled to go out this Friday. So look for that, to every household in the city, or I think, which will have all the candidate names. It'll have links to
Wow.
where you can learn about more candidates, including the Cambridge candidate pages. I'll have a link in there.
I wonder what that's gonna cost.
So,
Well, they have the
it's
budget
a-
for it, right? The election,
they-
is
well,
it come
they
out of
put
their
it-
budget,
they
or is
put
it
it in the
extra
budget
supplemental
for it.
budget? I
Yeah,
see.
it was budgeted to
Okay.
do this.
All right,
But this is the first time then in my memory where that was happening. I think, yeah, maybe so, right? I think there's also some explanation about how proportional
I was gonna say, is that gonna be in
ranked
there?
choice voting
Oh,
works.
good.
That'll be a part of it as well.
so that's actually good.
I think it's a good thing. There were some people who wanted to actually have candidate statements and questions or whatever.
Just have
But,
links
but
to
that
their
runs
website.
so close to electioneering,
Right, endorsement, right,
and the
yeah.
election commission has no
No.
desire to be getting
You
walked
just
on that
provide the
road.
resources.
Just make a link
that's
here,
it.
and I would say, because one of the links goes to Cambridge candidate
Yeah.
pages that I,
Mhm.
those are absolutely nonpartisan.
Right.
There's no
You don't editorial- you
endorsements,
don't,
no
right.
editorials, nothing.
Right,
My hope and my appeal to anyone else who's linked there
yeah,
is to separate out your
Right.
informational stuff from your opinion stuff.
right,
Because honestly, if it's official city publication goes out there saying, go here for information,
yeah.
and you start polluting it with all
Yeah.
sorts of
Are you talking about
opinion.
your candidate pages? But that,
But it's not just, there are other links as well, right?
right, but I'm saying, but on your candidate pages, people do have their opinions.
On my candidate pages, the only person you're reading is the words from
That's
the
what I'm saying,
candidates
they're,
themselves.
but it's their opinions.
They're electioneering for themselves, but
Right.
you're not gonna see Robert Winter's recommendations
Oh, no,
on
no,
who
no, of
you
course
should or
not,
shouldn't
no.
vote.
And then they'll
you know.
also have links to their own websites where they
Right.
probably
And
even
then do it even more, right. So that's fair game, because
Right.
everybody's being directed to resources where you
Right.
can find out about all of the
Right,
candidates.
with nobody's filtering it for
That's
you,
right.
nobody's,
That's right.
yeah.
So anyway, so that's coming up pretty well. At city council meeting last night, there was some, and actually over the last few weeks, there's been some interesting things happening. Some of the stuff is for the esoterica of those of us who are.
Well, I was surprised to turn it on last night, and they were just starting it because they had a long financial hearing on the tax thing
Yeah, there
or
was a
something.
scheduled tax hearing.
Yeah.
It's supposed to start at 6:30, but didn't start until much later because of a lot of public comment on a lot of topics. There was DACA-related public
right.
comment.
Yeah, I missed the public
There's
comment.
yet another bunch of people coming up screaming and yelling
Bicycles.
about bicycles.
Oh, gosh.
And, and it's getting a little tiresome.
That's a
quite
big
honestly.
hearing next Tuesday
Yeah.
at 4.
Yeah,
Which is going to run into the
yeah,
round table.
honestly,
I'm not. I'm
and I
avoiding
wanna-
that one.
I'm just gonna say one quick thing on that.
Yeah.
So it was originally scheduled for this week, but it's pushed to, it's
4
the
o'clock.
neighborhood and long-term
Right.
planning, et cetera,
Next
committee.
week.
And it's supposed to be about to look at some of these issues about bike safety and
Right.
whatever as a follow-up to some recent council orders
Right.
and such. My concern, honestly, is that as what seems to be becoming sort of standard practice,
Mm-hmm.
is that these meetings, city council meetings, whatever, aren't so much about having
New ideas.
a nucleus
Yeah.
of people who are there to talk about actual ideas or plans or contrasting things, so much it is packing meetings
Yeah.
by sending out the
Opponents,
alarm and
yeah.
seeing, we've seen
Make
if we
sure
can,
they don't do
can we
anything, yeah.
outnumber you, you know?
Yeah.
And I honestly, I'm just not even gonna go to this hearing
Yeah.
because I'm just
Yeah.
figuring, it'll be the Boston Cyclists Union just gonna bring out a crowd of people to try and outnumber people, and then maybe some other side is gonna try and bring out their crowd to try and outnumber people. And honestly, that's not how democracy works. That's just a
Well,
mob scene.
No?
Well,
You
in my
get your
opinion.
say. I mean,
You
yeah.
get your say, but honestly, in a representative democracy, then you'd like your elected officials to just be getting best available information and not necessarily just be kind of beaten up, So
Well, it is a hearing. It's not.
it's a
the,
hearing,
yeah.
and I know, and honestly, I don't think it's going anywhere.
I just think, I mean, it is true. I see more and more bike things going up without. Whoa.
Well, it's becoming.
What was the last one that I read something that people are upset about? Where 1005 Mass Ave? That's in your. What's going on there?
So something now. There's the owners of a.
Yeah, but what, are they putting another?
I think they're concerned about the facility that the demonstration project that they put in there, and that in
Oh,
fact
it's a demonstration.
it's
project.
actually disrupting a lot of the operations of the
Yeah.
building. But that's the same complaints we're hearing from people
Yeah.
in Cambridge Street.
But they have a lot of
and
tenants in
Rattle
that
Street.
building that are commercial tenants, so that could
Yeah.
be part of it too.
Actually, at the city council meeting last night, it was sort of peripherally related to bikes. There were two pretty significant things having to do with Harvard Square. One was the introduction
Petition,
of a Harvard Square zoning petition.
overlay, something.
Right,
Yeah.
called primarily drafted by Peter Kroon.
Right.
But Fred Meyer was the second
Right.
signatory,
I saw that,
and and it's a pretty interesting and diverse group of people. It's not crazy.
Right.
It seems actually pretty tame and pretty sane, and
you
it
were
was.
pretty. I mean, your comments about it and your journal. Were
Yeah, I
pretty
mean,
good.
there's definitely a hint of Patrick Barrett in the wording.
Did he sign it?
I believe they consulted very heavily with Patrick.
Okay.
It's
Oh,
something-
because they were kind of looking at the Central Square restaurant,
yeah,
right?
I kind of feel good about it in
Yeah.
the sense that
You gave a
we're
model.
doing things in Central
Right.
Square, which now people are looking to Central Square
To
and saying
influence Harvard
to
Square.
influence Harvard Square, right?
Yeah.
And I said, well, that's good because honestly, there were some good ideas that bubbled up in this K2C2 process.
Right.
The recommendations themselves got shelved, yet they seem to have a life that carries on because the ideas.
Thing and you're right.
Yeah, the good ideas.
Yeah.
Honestly, the K2 stuff is being quoted in part of the Volpe petition.
Right.
Planning board
Right.
recommendations are quoting them heavily.
Right.
So even stuff that gets shelved sometimes lives on.
Yes.
To,
That's good to know.
Have a continued life, and that's a good thing. So that was one thing, was that group that I think it was sort of in concert with the Harvard Square Neighborhoods Association, right?
So is that different? Is it a different? Is it all? So they're not really a group, the petitioners. They're just a.
They're not. This is just individual petitions, but the thing
Okay.
is, it was presented at the meeting of the
Yeah.
Harvard Square Neighborhood Association, which is
Okay.
really sort of the
Right.
continuation of the old Harvard Square Defense Fund.
Right,
And my first instinctive sense was, okay, this is going to be wacky, but it wasn't wacky.
yeah,
It's actually pretty
good.
sane, and it was focusing on the so-called retail ecosystem. And if you think about some of the things in the Central Square Restoration Petition,
Yeah.
there were a lot of similar focuses
Yes.
about making sure retail does well.
right.
If there's going to
Oh,
be
and the
some
formula business thing they
the
addressed.
formula
too.
business
Yes.
things, and I remember Dennis Carlone saying, we should
Yeah.
be doing this citywide. So
You're right.
sure enough, it's showing up in
Good.
another zoning petition.
Yeah.
Maybe the city council at some point should just introduce their own petition saying this should be the rule, period. For the
Instead
city.
of one off all that.
I mean,
Yeah.
some of these fast food ordinances have just
Yeah.
outlived their
Right.
usefulness, and
Right.
there are better ways to look at things, and there are things that should be regulated today, like the banks and the phone stores, et cetera.
How about yoga studios?
We-
Coffee, cafes.
That's right. We've got too many damn cafes in this city. We've got to do something about it, right? Right. We form the cafe defense fund.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, that was a good thing. But it was interesting because with the introduction of that zoning petition, there was also an order from the several city councilors, which I think were pretty much, they're carrying the word from the Harvard Square Business Association, promoting some of the things they would like to see. So it wasn't a zoning petition. It was basically a laundry list of suggestions and proposals
right. Was
for
this like Denise Simmons?
Denise Simmons, Don Giovanni, and
Yeah.
others.
Yeah.
And the truth is that anybody who spends time in Harvard Square knows there's certain things that are sort of problematic. Yes, the Brattle Street bike lanes are the ones that everybody's yelling and screaming about, but we've got tour buses who are just stopping where they shouldn't,
Auburn,
blocking
yeah.
things. There's it's actually not just Harvard Square, but the problem of Ubers and Lyft drivers.
Oh, I've noticed that a lot lately. They just
Driving
stop
like
anywhere.
they
Well,
stop
they
anywhere.
in bus
they do
lanes,
anything.
and it's an
Right.
Uber driver because they're parked where they shouldn't.
Yeah,
They're not getting out of the car.
I mean, my feeling
Yeah.
is, because I like to be a little forgiving about some of this stuff,
Yeah.
is that if the infrastructure doesn't exist to make things work properly,
Yeah.
you have to at least tolerate some people bending the rules.
And they're
You
doing
know,
it.
if there's no
Yeah.
cab stand, then the taxi cab driver, and there's no place to pull up to the curb, and if they pull up into a bike lane temporarily, and they're
Yeah.
not hanging out there for life, right? Then you have to tolerate some of these things. Maybe the city will come up with a great plan.
Well, it's hard. We're an urban city, and as
It's
some
tough.
of them have said, it's already been, the roads are laid out, and there's just so much you can do. We've got truck
Yeah.
deliveries, we've got bicyclists, we have walkers, we have cars.
Yeah.
It's just,
So one of the,
You
I remember I was saying how, and I wasn't being facetious at all, I was very serious. To me, the best way to handle that one-way section of Brattle Street was to make it a two-way street with dramatically lowered speed limits, like
Yeah.
15 miles tops.
but now it's a one-way street,
It's a
but with
one-way
two-way
street,
bicyclists.
but two-way bicyclists.
It's crazy.
And, so anyway, part of the order, basically the list of suggestions includes making the whole Harvard Square district a low-speed area,
Definitely.
And if you think about it, that's not unreasonable
You mean
anywhere.
lower than what they have now, which is what, 25 now? Didn't everything go down?
Everything went down, but the thing is,
Is it
you
20 or
could to
25?
25, but you
Okay.
could also drop it to 20 if you
Yeah.
wanted to. But you could, by
Yeah.
home rule petition, drop it even lower.
I think they should.
Appeal to the state. If you think about it, when there's congestion, then there's already lower
Mm-hmm.
speeds, and I think honestly, if we're in congestion, then people raced through there and created problems.
Well,
That's not so good.
it's hard to race through hard. I don't know anybody racing through hard.
At night, maybe in the middle of the
I don't
night
know.
or something. So actually, I think it's a great idea to
Yeah.
actually do a kind of a
Yeah.
and honestly, I would do the same thing in some other places too in the city.
Yeah.
Say in an intense pedestrian zone,
Porter
drop the
Square,
limit.
the squares.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
even if it's just for one block or two
Right.
blocks, drop the speed limit down to like a school zone,
Yeah.
right? School zone speed limit was 20. You could make it 15.
It was 15.
You know,
so, yeah.
you wouldn't want that on every street. That would
No.
be ridiculous. But
Right.
but in certain zones, which
There's
are
no reason to go above 20, and, like going down Pearl Street. I mean, I
Yeah.
always go slower.
yeah,
because,
I mean, I'm sort of embracing pedestrian intensive zones. Like
Yes.
I remember, if you go up Davis Square, Somerville, if you're coming in along, I guess it's Elm Street,
Yeah,
you cannot go fast because there's crosswalks and
Right.
people wandering
Right,
around there.
right.
And it's actually a pretty pleasant
Yep.
environment. Actually, which reminds me,
Yeah.
I had a vision.
A vision.
had a vision.
Uh-oh.
All right, so we've been doing the Central Flea. That the
You've been
Central
doing, I
Square.
went once.
Yeah, I've gone to all of them now. And
Yeah.
they've all been great.
Yeah, no,
So
it's a nice
the
idea.
one that occurred, I think was it last weekend
It
or
was the weekend I
weekend
was
before?
in Chicago. I think it was the 23rd or something.
Something
yeah.
like that. It was the
24th.
last
Yeah.
Sunday
It
in
was 24th.
September.
Mhm.
Okay, so they coupled it with the dumpling festival.
Oh, nice.
And it was mobbed. I mean,
Oh, I bet.
I have never seen that many people mobbed into a not,
Wow.
well, we've had Central Square festivals
Sure.
and whatever. But the most interesting thing to me was
Yeah.
that there we were at the corner of Prospect and Bishop Allen Drive,
Right.
and there were people streaming across Prospect Street. And I thought, wait a minute, don't we always think of Prospect Street as this sort of
Busy.
vehicular thoroughfare?
Right.
For one beautiful day,
It was
Prospect
slow,
Street felt like a commercial
Huh.
zone with pedestrians crisscrossing
There just
the
weren't
street.
that many cars?
Well, there were cars, but the thing is
Yeah.
that there were so many people, and the cars were perfectly fine
Yeah,
with it.
because the people
And
overwhelmed the cars.
And I thought, now there's my vision. My vision
Yeah.
is you could have Central Square, sure, but then that stretch of Prospect Street going down to
So maybe on
Whole
Sundays,
Foods.
like I do on Riverbend Sunday, maybe
Well, I don't
certain
need to
squares?
close it down. I mean,
Why? Just one Sunday a month?
But the better vision
All
vision
right.
is, if you could imagine that street actually being where the parking lots are, having frontages which are actually retail stores again, or places where people go. Hopefully, that's would become the affordable corridor. Wouldn't that
Yeah,
be
but
great?
then you're gonna have deliveries, so the more commercial, the more deliveries.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you're still gonna have traffic.
No, you always have traffic. I don't mind the traffic, but the thing
Right.
is that it shouldn't just be traffic. I mean, this should
Okay.
be a
I still
real
vote for
place.
trying out.
Even
Sunday.
Prospect Street could become a place.
Yeah,
That's, I guess, my
Yeah.
vision right there. Simple as
it's
that.
a place
yeah.
for a lot of people that walk it. I'll tell you.
Yeah, yeah. And we got one more to go. And actually, for
Yeah, I was
Halloween.
gonna say, is there another one?
Yeah, actually, it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be so cool.
Or do you know the date?
Michael Monestein, love the guy.
Yeah.
He's the
We have to have him
executive
as a
director.
guest.
We're already talking.
Okay.
He's been invited. So
We have to get the date.
for the
so we
last one,
can-
this will be the last one of the season. There'll be Central Flea. It'll be very close to Halloween. So they're going to do, Central Square. It's Central Scare,
Oh.
and it's a very kid-themed one
Great.
where there'll be parades and a lot of costumery.
So is it the
and
last
whatever,
Sunday in October?
Yeah. Yes, and that'll be the last of the Central Fleas for this
Okay.
year. Yeah.
We'll make sure we have the date
So, yeah,
next
so-
week.
Everybody should come. This was going to be
Okay.
good.
I
I'm
will
sure
try
it's
to
gonna
go
be
to
good.
that one.
All right. Anyway, a few more things in the political realm. So they did, for those of us who actually think about municipal finance,
You think about more than
I do it.
but,
most people don't, but
Anything
yeah.
major that happened, they increased the rate or?
well, it was the
decreased
tax
conversion?
rate. It was setting it's a tax classification where
Right.
you basically divvy out the residential properties
Right.
from the commercial
Commercial.
properties. The state law enables you to tax commercial at a higher rate, so
Mhm.
they have to decide to do that. You can't just do it unlimited, like let's just sock it to the commercial.
What is the rate?
The actual rates it will be
Oh,
dropping to $6.29
Residential?
per thousand of residential property.
Dropping, meaning it was
It
higher
actually,
last year?
yeah. Well, the thing is, the values go up, the rate goes down.
Oh, right, they
So
said it
they
was
kinda-
5.1 and then now it's 4
they
point
sort of
something.
balance out,
Okay.
but not quite, because there's still a little bit of a tax increase,
Okay.
but not much. The commercial tax rate will be $14.81 per thousand, so it's more, like 2.5 times the residential rate. It basically translates into the fact that, as has been the case for a while, commercial taxes basically cover about 2/3
Yeah, I would
of
say
the
so.
taxes. So, Cambridge is actually viewed as a reasonable place to live in terms of tax.
Well, but then
penalty.
that's why it's sort of this trade-off, because the reason we are is because we have
We
all this
allow
commercial development, and also we have the
development.
universities, and people complain they don't give enough.
Yeah,
but
but
let's
it's
face it, we get a lot from
it's a
them.
balancing
Yeah.
act, and
Yep.
David Kale, Bobby Reardon, and Louis DePasquale were, I think, giving lessons to people. And actually, Dennis Carlone, Councilor Carlone, was saying you should have a seminar. We should have a
Yeah.
seminar where everybody can actually learn how all this stuff really
That's
works.
not a bad idea.
Honestly, in terms of planning, there are
Yeah.
reasons why you don't want to necessarily just build all housing or build all
Right.
commercial or build
Right.
all affordable housing, but
Right.
not enough market
Well,
housing.
it
to
all
kind
has
of
to balance
keep things
out.
in
Yeah.
balance, right?
Mhm.
And people need to understand this a little bit better, I think. The residential exemption went to about $339,000
Wow.
taken off the top of your residential
What was it?
valuation. It went up from about 20,000 from the previous year.
So just toward that increase.
So basically, if you're a
Yeah.
homeowner, if your property is
Condo or
valued at
house,
some
yeah.
1 point whatever $1 million, you take it off the top and you're taxed.
Yeah,
on
it's
what
based on the
remains.
remainder.
And
Yeah.
as David Mark reminded people, there was some few years ago, there was a lot of controversy where everybody's like 2s and 3s family
Mhm.
homes, their taxes really shot up one year. I remember I got scared from it, right? So I got a little bit of an abatement, but honestly,
Yeah.
it was pretty scary. So there were a lot of good ideas proposed. Right now, for example, if you own a 3-decker, as I do, I get one residential exemption, and then I have to take tax on the rest.
Yeah.
If my building was 3 condominiums, then the value might go up a little bit overall, but all 3 condo owners would get the same $339,000.
Oh, yeah, well, it's a
exemption.
separate unit. That's
So
goes
condo
without saying.
owners typically in this city get
Yeah.
the best tax deal of all. So
Except
they-
most condos are now $1 million, so.
Right, true. But the idea was floated some years
Yeah.
ago to do the residential exemption, not across the board for all residential, but by class. So 2
Right.
families, you do it, there were a certain
Okay.
residential
Yeah.
exemption, 3 families, single families, condos, and whatever. That might be a little bit fairer. So
Yeah, that sounds good.
it's a tough uphill climb to make
Yeah.
any changes because you have to beg the state to do it. So.
Oh, you do?
Oh, yeah, yeah. We only have another half minute here. I'll just say
Yeah.
here, the Volpe petition is actually moving along. It was passed to
I
the
was
second
watching some
reading.
of it just before I came
amended.
here.
Yeah.
They're doing
Um,
another hearing,
You know,
ordinance hearing.
we'll hear more from
Yeah.
MIT in another couple of weeks.
Hmm.
The deadline is the end of this month. I'm actually starting to feel cautiously optimistic it might
Yeah.
actually.
Well, they testified
something
today,
will pass.
too.
Yeah, it was
Right.
it was an
Yeah,
ordinance
the
committee
second
today,
ordinance,
so.
yeah, so,
Anyway,
okay,
we'll be back with a couple of candidates next week.
that's right, good,
All right.
because there's no city council
ya.
meeting, bye.